I was so nervous. I had no idea. I did not go in with 2 feet on paper, but I think on the back end, I probably did. Like, I read every book I could get my hands on to do with real estate, because I was like, I just need to know all the information as much as possible so that when I talk to people, I know something about the industry that I'm in.
Hey everybody, we are here today to talk with Sandra Reid about her business, how things are going down in Rochester.
Do I look at you or do I look at the camera? Sorry, I know we're starting all over again.
No, we're not. So. We're not going to keep going. We're just you look at me.
Do I keep looking at you?
I'm the captain now.
Okay, all right. Okay, I'm gonna look at you.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
But you can look at the camera too. They're here to watch you, and they'll see you on social media being on this clip. But
okay. Blooper reel.
Yeah. As I was saying, we're here talking with Sandra Reid about her business and how she got to this place in her career. Sandra joined and came to the RE/MAX Results family and became a realtor and found success very quickly and was named to be Rookie of the Year in her first full year in the business. Tell me a little bit about just you and your story. How did you get yourself to Rochester? Tell me a little bit about the journey that you've been on.
The journey to Rochester was very all over the place. I immigrated to San Francisco when I finished college, and I lived there for 10 years. And then my husband and I moved to Boston, where we thought we were relocating. But 9 months into that, his company got bought out and we moved to Manhattan. So we were there for 4 years, and the lifestyle is wonderful and fun and exciting, but it's also fast-paced, and the apartments are small, and I had a second kid on the way, and my husband was done with banking, and so he wanted to do something more in the nonprofit world or giving back. So he looked at endowments for schools and hospitals and colleges and things like that, and the Mayo Clinic popped up, and that's how we ended up in Rochester. Real estate wasn't on the cards at all, although several people were trying to convince me to go into that world. I love breaking things and fixing things and YouTubing how to do things. So pre-COVID, we bought a house and it needed a whole bunch of stuff done to it. And also there was an unfinished basement. So I decided to become a rehabber and DIY'd it, which was a very fun experience, but it was crippling on my over 40 body. And I was like, that's obviously not the section of real estate I should be in. So then the next step was, let's try the realtor side.
So what was it, first of all, that you were studying in college?
Nothing to do with real estate. I studied exercise physiology.
Okay.
So for the first 7 years, that's where I did all of my stuff. I was in gyms in California.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was when you finished school, immigrating to the United States, the goal just to, had you met your husband yet? Or?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
So you just came to San Francisco.
I won the green card lottery, and I had heard that the people on the West Coast were more into fitness than the East Coast, which is so not true in hindsight, but that was like the perception I had. And the 3 major cities were Seattle, San Francisco, and LA. And Seattle had the same precipitation level as Ireland, so I was like, definitely not going there. And I thought LA would corrupt me, so I went to San Francisco.
So exercise science, and we're just kind of focusing on that as you kind of journeyed from the different major cities throughout those
No,
years?
I was like pretty much done with exercise fitness by the time I had gone. I did a stint for like 5 years as a photographer, and so that's what I was doing for the other part of my San Francisco, and I did that in Boston and New York.
Okay.
And by the time my husband had decided to move us again to Rochester, I was like, I am not starting photography all over again, because it's hard to start a self-employed business. And
sure.
Like that comes up in real estate too. These people who have moved to a city and have no contacts, right? So I had done that multiple times, started fresh in a new city with no contacts. And so I was, 6 months pregnant with my second child, and I was like, I'm not starting fresh again. But so we took a break for a while, and I was at home with the kids. So
there's obviously parallels then between how you built photography businesses and how you built your real estate business in Rochester once you decided to go all in with that?
Yeah, I think that they're all like connected, which is really nice. Like they're very different industries. Like obviously personal training, photography, real estate have nothing to do with each other, but they are all major people businesses and like lifestyle. Like people care about their health. They are really big into their weddings, and buying homes is like one of the biggest, investments a lot of people will have ever made. So there's a lot of, I don't know if you call it psychology or communication or...
I would imagine they all involve a lot of trust.
Yes. Yes.
Right? I mean, to be hired to be someone's wedding photographer,
That's a good point,
they're
yeah.
they're putting a lot of faith and trust in you, not only to not screw everything up and or whatever, but I mean to the vision, right, and everything else, right, and trust in you as someone as a fitness coach, to like make sure that they're not wasting their time.
And I think the other two parts of that is that like you have to get inside their head of what they want, what their vision is compared to what they're communicating. Because what you want in a house and what you want in your wedding or what you want your physique to look like, are you communicating that message well enough that I can hear you and understand and not send you down a different path?
I'm sorry, are you suggesting that people don't always say exactly what they mean and they don't articulate everything that they want
No, it's
right
pitch
up
perfect
front?
all the time.
Yeah.
Crystal clear. So yeah, I think that is something that I have learned how to listen actively to what people are trying to say.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I always get it, but I probably have a little bit more practice in it. So
How do you try to hone that skill, or how do you try to improve that active listening skill?
I don't know the answer to that. I did read a book on listening one time where the lady was talking about how you can't have the next answer come up with, like you can't be thinking about what the next answer is to their answer, which is kind of a frightening way to think because we all love to like interject with our, oh yeah, that happened to me too, or like your own story. So trying not to do that, but it's a work in progress.
Well, I was going to
definitely.
say that's exactly what I do in these podcasts. I just let you talk, and then when it's done, then I'll think of my next question. But the point is, I don't want to miss anything, especially something where I see your eyes light up. I know that there's something there that is important.
Yeah, well, that's reading body language, which is in the three industries I worked in before too.
Yeah.
But I think that they're all important things. They're also high stress situations where people have like deadlines that they have to meet or goals that they've set for themselves.
Yeah.
And so trying to keep on top of those and keeping the communication lines open and stuff.
So in order to earn the Rookie of the Year sort of award, that meant that once you did dive in, you dove in with both feet.
I would, yes, sure.
Is that an expression that?
Yes, my husband has told me to veer away from expressions because I always get them wrong.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'll be like, yeah, it's this expression. He's like, that's not it.
That's not it at all.
So, but yes, yeah.
So how did you approach, again, once you made the decision to become a real estate agent and how did you approach building your business? Like as you went into it, what were things that you either goals that you set for yourself, or what were the kind of the big rocks that you were just trying to move?
I'd like to say that I was organized enough back then to do that. Now I set big rocks for myself to do with timelines and all the good stuff that goes with it. But in my first year, I did not. Like I remember Susan told me that the average person at Remax, does somewhere between 12 and 24, and I should aim for 12. And I was like, I'll give you one. I will promise to sell one house. I was so nervous. I had no idea. I did not go in with 2 feet on paper, but I think on the back end, I probably did. Like I read every book I could get my hands on to do with real estate because I was like, I just need to know all the information as much as possible so that when I talk to people, even if I had never sold another house, I know something about the industry that I'm in. So that was number one. Like I'll go all in on every book and I like reading. So that wasn't a heavy chore for me. And then I found it very difficult to put myself out there as a new realtor. So I did a lot of stuff like pop-bys, where you like go around and you give little treats to people, but also you got your logo and your name on them. You're supposed to knock on the door and introduce yourself. I did none of that. I was like, I would like throw it at the house and run away so nobody talked to me,
Okay.
So I did the things, but I did them in a very timid way, but they worked. And I put my name out there. And then I also made sure that I started to when I did that rehab project, I had to work with a lot of different vendors on that house who helped me out and gave me advice and did things that I couldn't do, like electrical and plumbing, tiling, things like that. And so when I got into real estate then, it really helped to have those contacts. So if somebody was starting out new, I would definitely say build those contacts, because in that first year, my listings came from people that could not reach contractors, plumbers, electricians. And so I was like, oh, I can have someone there on Monday. I would meet them at open houses and they'd be like, we need to list our house, but we can't get on someone's calendar for 4 months. And I'm like, I can get someone there on Monday. Wow. And I would get my person there on Monday and then I'd get the listing, so it was just being a resource for people that's helpful. So those were kind of like two things. And then after that year, I looked up and someone said you won the award, and I was like, what? I was like so in the trenches, I didn't even know what was happening.
So distance pop bys and open houses. You're saying like that kind of helped this
that's
start.
That's what worked. I did mailers, but like now that I'm learning about direct mail, like I wasn't really doing direct mail. But I will say though that in not the first year, but in my second year of business, I got 2 calls from those mailers, and that's obviously a low return, but obviously direct mails is a long game. And I didn't get either of those listings. They were cold leads. I was going into a stranger, and I tried to walk away from both of those, not saying that the person didn't want me or another agent did better than me, but like, what could I have improved? And so in my second year, I looked at those and I was like, I could have improved these 3 things. So let's just work on those. And those became rocks. So like my seller presentation became a rock. Yeah. How I like show up, physically and, headspace to a listing appointment became a rock. And I set kind of like, what are those like SOPs or, standard operating procedures for those things.
Sure.
And now, like when I go to a listing presentation or when I go to a buyer's consult, like I'm closing them all. But then I'm doing one of the Clever You classes and they're like, if you're closing them all, you're not doing enough. So goal for 2025 is to do more to get rejected.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, if you're closing them all, what else can you do?
Go on more. I'm not going unannounced seemingly. So, but.
So you are still using like everyday direct mail or some sort of direct mail as a part of your just overall strategy, but you're kind of seeing how that you said is like more the long game?
I didn't last year, no, because I had those 2 situations that didn't work. And then other methods like the open houses and my contacts and those methods just exploded. So last year was nutty. And so no, I didn't stamp a single envelope last year.
Okay.
But I think now that I've learned more about the process, I could have done a lot more to activate that system. So
like what? What would you have done differently in hindsight?
So I think that targeting them around the listings more than just picking a neighborhood is one thing. I can door knock more effectively with them. And then the content that I put out could have a little bit more of a call to action in them.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
I'm a little still soft on that.
Yeah.
So.
Pick me, but I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
What are you and your husband and your family find yourselves doing when you're not busy selling real estate?
Usually planning vacations. We love to travel.
Okay.
So we love going places. We love planning them. We love talking about them afterwards. We love it. It's just so.
What does a successful year look like in terms of the Reid household traveling?
No vacation days left over.
Okay.
None. So I remember we were coming out of COVID, but we still couldn't travel a lot. The kids hadn't got vaccinated yet. And we were like, oh, I don't know what's happening. And it was December and the kids had time off school. My husband had 5 vacation days left over that were going to expire and he wouldn't get paid out. He wouldn't get to keep them, like nothing, like they were just going to disappear. And then we had 2 companion fares that were also going to expire. We were like coming out in a cold sweat. We were like, this can't happen.
Yeah.
We can't have this situation. So we decided to go to San Diego for 5 days to use these 5 days up, to use the free companion fares and go on vacation. And we had a good time, but it was freezing. We picked San Diego because we thought it was going to be lovely and sunny and warm and whatever. But my kids were in that water every day with my husband. I was like standing on the beach with my like coat that I had bought when I went to San Diego. But they had a blast. We embrace it wherever we go, whatever the weather conditions are.
International travel a lot too? Or?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, going home every once in a while, I suppose.
Go home once a year. I was going to say once a week, once a year. We just got back from 2 weeks in Costa Rica, which was absolutely gorgeous. And it rained for 10 of the 14 days, which is very unusual for Costa Rica at this time of year. But even with all the rain, I'd go back in a heartbeat. It was beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So how have you responded to sort of some of the changes that have affected our industry with technology? I mean, knowing that you're kind of newer to this business, but there has been a lot of change and growth and just in the last couple of years, and just trying to like constantly keep up with whether it's AI or new services or whatever it is that we're trying to do. How do you try to keep focusing on your big rocks despite all the noise and everything else that the world seems to be throwing at us?
I feel like some of the big rocks, the technology ones, I'm going to be a slower adopter to anyway, so it's easier for me to stay focused on my projects. I sometimes need some more assistance with taking those on. So once other people have taken them on, then it's easier for me to learn kind of with them as I do the back end. So they are less of a distraction for me, especially if they're new. I like the tried and trusted ones that have been around for a few years.
Yeah.
And then like with the laws and stuff that are changing, I think you do a great job of explaining all that stuff to me so that I can translate it to other people. But I try not to get caught up in the drama of it. Like one of the things that people often ask me is like, what's the advice I have for new realtors? And like, I will say, don't talk crap about our industry. Like it's like, there's plenty of negative stuff about it in the news.
Right.
We can be the people that can have like the little nuggets of fun things about real estate and good reasons why you should buy or sell right now. Like it's up to us to do a better job of that. So like, I have never been in a situation when somebody hasn't asked me, how's work going? What's going on in the real estate market? What's new in real estate? Like I get asked all the time, so I don't have to bring it up. And so I need to have what I call like positive party poppers where I can talk positively about our neighborhood or like our industry.
Right.
To try and, it's not that the other stuff isn't real. It is real. Interest rates are high and the market is tight and there is low inventory, but I don't have to peddle that message. It's already out there. So
right.
I can talk about trends in countertops, or I can talk about like other nice things about the industry, things
Right.
that I see positively happen.
We always just deal with the topography that we're managing, or like those are things that we can't control. So we just have to help clients manage them.
Yeah, I think that like every industry has that where there's negative things you can talk about or positive things, but I think that most people love to just talk about real estate because it's a topic a lot of people feel very versed in, whether they're actually in it or not. And so it's just people talk about it more in our industry.
And when someone brings it up to you at like a party or anything else, it's because they genuinely want to know.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's something that people who are not in our industry from the outside, I think real estate still presents itself as a kind of a mystery or just this thing that, yes, we all understand how houses work, but the mechanics of timing a market or there is a lot of unknown that they're just looking for someone to give them the answers, but not drag them down.
And also solutions, right? So like if somebody's like, interest rates suck right now because they're so high, like we can be like, yeah, they're high, but here's all the things we can do about it. Like here are things your lender can do for you, or like here are things that we can do on our side to like move the numbers around so that you can absorb some of that. And like, here's what you're getting at different things, so you can offer solutions so that it's not just they're high and there's nothing I can do about it.
Right.
There is things you can do about it. Yeah. There is ways that we can,
Yeah, because if you commiserate and say, yep, there's nothing you can do about it, then that's...
Conversation's done.
Conversation's
right?
over.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I like to find solutions. Those are my party poppers.
Okay. So it sounds like you're a pretty good one-on-one or in good at building rapport and building trust in conversations, even though before you were saying how you weren't willing to knock on the door necessarily when you first got started.
I don't mind one-on-one when someone else starts the conversation. When I have to start it cold, that's where I get like, fair. It's easy for me to talk about it if somebody asks me a question,
right?
Because they're interested. They've opened the door for that. It's not me knocking on their door.
Right.
So I think that's the difference. But I do much prefer a small audience rather than a big group.
Okay.
I get real shy in a big group.
Is there anything else specifically that you're looking forward to either trying to implement into your business or some sort of professional goal that you have, knowing that we've got some headwinds, I guess we could say, but the reality is we're still here to do the job. Anything that you're looking to try to accomplish?
There's been nothing but headwinds since I trained.
Okay, so you're just used to it.
Like I don't know the sweet years that everybody talks about. I didn't have any of them, So like I remember in the first year that I was in, everyone was like, there's no buyers. No, there was no inventory the first year that I was in the business. And then the second year I was in the business, now there was no inventory and no buyers. So I was like, okay. And then the last year there was no inventory, no buyers, and we had the new laws coming in. I was like, okay, see what happens next year, So I don't know what these sweet, easy golden years you guys talk about. Okay.
So you never go fishing and the fish just jump into your boat? That's never happened to you?
Well, I feel like only I feel like that's all that's happened since I started working. I feel like I don't know. I do know what I'm doing, but I don't know what I'm doing in the sense that, I feel like I look at people who've been in the industry for a long time and I'm like, they have all these systems and processes and they seem so organized. And I feel like I'm just trying everything and working at it all and see what happens. And it's working clearly, but I do feel like I don't know, the fish are just like, oh, I kind of know it. It's so, yeah.
And does that work with making sure that you have enough time to spend with family and again with the kids and travel and all the rest of that stuff?
Yes, I the one rule I have is I'm super protective of my time. And I think having been self-employed for like 20 years, 20 plus years, you have to be protective of your time. If you don't protect it, nobody else will, right? Because we are a 24 hours a day industry. They could call you at any point. Things could happen at any time.
Yeah.
So I think it is up to us to manage our time and protect it. I'm not very good at the very strict schedule of like, I do this at this hour and this is blocked off for this window. So that is something I am trying to get better about.
Okay.
But I do think that if you let it, it will seep into your vacation. It will seep into your kids, reading to them at night. It will seep into that. So you have to be more strict about things like that.
So what do you do? What do you do to protect your time so you have time for your other priorities?
Well, I am up very early in the morning. So I get a lot of stuff done early in the morning, which helps. And then with clients, I try to be very open in my communication with the kids and my husband when I'm working and when I'm not, so they know that I'm not just like scrolling on my phone if I'm just sitting there doing stuff. I'm like, mommy's working right now and your time is going to be here, or I'm going to pause this right now because it's not as important as you kind of thing or whatever. So I always just try to be really communicative with them. And with like my husband, I'm like, this week's going to be nuts. Okay. So this is not an us week. This is like I got to get through this. I got to grind through this. Let's put a date night on the calendar for next week.
Yeah.
And then that'll be your night, no phone, whatever, So I'm trying to be a little bit more like that with it. And then with vacations, I had one hiccup in, I think, my second year where I had this like girls' weekend and work just poured into it. Like it did not a healthy way at all. And I came out of that weekend and I was like, there has to be a better system than what happened. So after that, I implemented that if it is a vacation day and it's also a high priority work day. So like there's non-priority work days and then there's like heavy negotiation days, right? So if it's a heavy negotiation day, like I will block windows off. So like, let's say get up from 6 to 7 or 7 to 8 or whatever in the morning. And I call all the important players in that contract, work through what everybody needs, what I need to do, and then set a specific window, let's say from 1 to 2 later on that day, but tell everyone, like communicate with them, like I'm going to be busy until 1, but can I touch base? Will this time work for you? So we can retouch base on this and like move this ball forward and then do another window that evening that's not in the middle of dinner time, because that's when they're going to call you, is when you're like in Italy out on dinner and like you don't want to get interrupted in the middle of that. So like set it for 5 or set it for 8 that night and say, does this time work for you? Like get their buy-in.
Sure. And
then they won't be like blowing up your phone with texts. Are you getting my messages? I sent you a text. I sent you an email too. Like you don't want that in the middle of your like dinner or whatever.
Right.
So that has worked for me so far, so I think if like 80% of the time that system works, the other 20, like, sure, you have hiccups and everything, so 80% of the time I try to stick to that. And then there's a couple of outliers that it doesn't quite fall into that, but.
So being self-employed and working on your own schedule, but also around your kids, what kind of hopefully positive messages or impressions do you hope to be leaving for them as a businesswoman, as a professional? What do you hope that they're seeing?
Rochester is a heavy medicine town. There's a lot of people that have careers and a lot of those careers are in the medical field where you have to be like top of your class to get into those programs. So there's a lot of my children's friends are the children of doctors, and they are potentially headed down that route because a lot of, that's just the way it goes, right? Sure. It's probably the same in law. Lawyers tend to have more lawyers
get lawyers all the time.
Yeah. So I guess where I'm going with this is that I would not have had the grades to be in medicine. So I am a different route. And so the message that my kids and other kids can see is that you can be highly successful and not be an A student or top of your class. Like it is all like, on our side of the game, though, you have to have like grit and determination and self, driven and whatever. So there's what our traits and attributes are very different than it's not that I'm not smart. I am book smart, but I'm not an A student. So they're learning that. They're also learning how to like create your own income and not be dependent on somebody else for the hours you have to work and the lifestyle you live. So they've seen me travel all over the world, take time off. Like when I moved to the States first, I would only work 9 months of the year and then travel the other 3 months because I could do that. My visa requirements for the first 5 years where I had to only work for the first 9 months. And so then I would take 3 months off. So that kind of flexibility is a different lifestyle. And you have to be able to manage your money and make it stretch still 12 months and your time and your relationships and everything else. So they're learning other skills that would not be traditional skills that you get in most careers.
Yeah.
So I think they see those kind of things.
Is there anybody that you would want to acknowledge or identify as being someone who is particularly impactful in your life, in your career?
That is a really big question. I would say that as far as real estate goes, like the Rochester office are phenomenal. Like they are so open to like all the like big top producers down there. They will just get into a room and answer any question I have for them, talk to them. Like they're just so friendly and open and they'll share so like freely. Like it has, I was surprised by that when I started working first, that I wasn't going to be in the room with all the other brand newbies trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
That everybody would just come together and share and be helpful. And so I love that about Rochester. So all of them get credit for that one.
Yeah. And being positive, right? I mean, the same thing that you said before, which is like that a group that will get together and complain or just sort of whine about whatever is bothering them kind of can pull, doesn't lift the conversation up. It doesn't necessarily.
No, it doesn't move anything along. And it doesn't help a newbie. Like if you're starting out and then they're like, the market sucks. And you're like, I just got qualified. Like, So, so the guys down there and the girls have just been absolutely awesome. So I love them all down there. I would never leave. But if we're going to do like the red carpet Oscar talk, it would be Granny. Like my granny on my mom's side was just this woman who was just oodles of positivity. Like you could be in the darkest situation possible and she would find a way to make it something positive out of it, or something that was like a growth moment or whatever, and it was all just little pearls of wisdom. Nothing felt like a lecture or pontificating, years of experience. She was just herself.
Yeah.
And so she was like our matriarch in the family that produced all of these children and grandchildren. And she lived until she was like 96. And she was like my favorite. She was awesome.
So let me ask this as we close up. Give me either a grannyism or a granny story or something that you still take with you, that you remember, a pearl of wisdom that she gave to you, that you'd be willing to share with everyone else.
Oh God.
Keep the curse words to a minimum. That was good.
She was just a realist. She wasn't somebody who had one-liners. She was just talking about life in general. And she could always just snap you out of whatever. If you were having a negative feeling or going down a negative route, she could get you to snap out of it. Okay. But it wasn't one-liners.
What was the Irish expression that you shared during your speech? Was that as a recipient of the Rookie of the Year, or was that the year following?
That was when I was giving it
when
to
you
the
were
next
giving
person.
it to the next person.
And that was actually my granddad on the other side.
Okay.
So I don't even, I'm assuming my grandmother spoke Irish, but I never heard her speak Irish. So that was Gameri mi bio an am Sharish, and it basically means, it's quite morbid. It maybe all be alive at this time next year, but it's the way that we use it in Ireland is may we all be together at this time next year.
And that was a lovely moment that you had when you kind of spoke to. We're speaking to really just the entire audience there as that group of having a way of celebrating again an award ceremony and the productive year, and just recognizing that every day's a gift, but we hope to all be back together again. 1 year later, which we were.
Except me,
except for you.
You
missed it.
It's ridiculous.
Because you were too busy helping potential clients look at homes.
I did not protect my time.
Yeah.
No. But sometimes sometimes there's limiting factors, and you have to choose a different path. But I will be back there next year.
Okay.
So,
well, very good.
That event.
And I would love to have you back on the podcast again at some point in the future as we see how the next several years unfold. But Sandra, thank you for joining the podcast.
Thank you for having me.